Gemini, welcome to your weekly reading for August the 8th to the 14th. Let's get started and see what messages we have for Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising, keeping in mind that these are general readings and they may not resonate for everyone. So make sure you check out your other placements to see if there are messages there for you as well. All right. Okay, Gemini, let's see. What is the energy around the week ahead for Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising? We see new life. Gosh, I love when that card shows up. It carries a lot of shift with it, but it feels like going with the flow here to the sea. All that glitters, so you're going to face some truths and build a new path that leads to a new life. Isn't that interesting? But I think this is going to involve some shift in your day-to-day, a rebuilding of a foundation. Looks like you're going to be looking at things in a different way and seeing that, not everything that glitters is gold. So it feels like there's some illusions around you right now that you might already be aware of. And I say that because the bottom of the deck is the Y card. So you may have already been questioning some things that just don't seem like... I think you're already on the path of this new life, Gemini. You're already on this path. And you're discovering that there are things outside of your control with this to the sea card. And these things that are outside of your control may be very difficult to accept. We saw a big, last week's reading for Gemini sort of had a lot of shifting directions. And there was sort of this idea around perhaps there being some things shifting and some perceived loss. And so I feel like you're building a new foundation with this building blocks card, and you're actually already on the path of this new life. This is interesting. You're really being guided to, instead of questioning why, and staying stuck there, like, why does this have to happen? Why does this have to happen? It feels like instead of saying, why does this have to happen? It's almost an opportunity for you to say, what new path awaits me because of all of these things changing that are outside of my control. Surrender is the name of the game, folks, when things are outside of your control. I mean, if it's not within your control and you're stuck asking why, that can be a very that could be the destination. You could sit and ask why forever and never really know why. You might start inventing some reasons for why. And sometimes that can be very limiting. I feel like you're being guided to accept these things that are changing outside of your control, to see where there are illusions around you, where there may be things that are not authentic or things are not as they appear. Things are not as they appear. You may feel like there's no hope. And that might be the illusion around you right now, is that you're feeling like with all these things changing outside of your control, that in itself could be the illusion that this is it. It's not it. I think this is actually clearing your path for something new to form. And that building blocks card that we see here next to new life is really... It's like there's some shifting elements happening right now to get you to a place where it's like a clean slate. And as we arrive at the clean slate, it can be difficult to see things fall off, right? It can be very difficult, but I feel like you're being guided to trust that and to go with it, to lean into the surrender and to accept these things that are shifting around you outside of your control. And not be bothered with the question of why is this happening, but rather, what is this opening me up for? What is this opening me up for? And yeah, there's the Three of Swords coming out as your first card, flipping over right as I finish speaking. And I feel like it's a heartbreaker. Like last week, it felt like that too for Gemini, that whatever it is that's shifting, as your path is being cleared for this new timeline, you're experiencing some things that are like loss, and you might be internalizing that loss and sort of sitting with, why does this have to happen? Why? And I think it's happening to get you to a new place with that new life card, building blocks. You're not happy about this shift. Ace of Wands, in reverse. You're saying no. You're not on board. You're not on board. And it's because it hurts you to experience these changes, seeing things, even though it's not as it appears right now. You can't stop seeing it in any other way. You're seeing it as loss, and as a result, you're sort of Two of Swords here, feeling paralyzed. It's analysis paralysis with this Two of Swords. You're asking yourself why so much, instead of just accepting this and leaning into it with surrender. That it's almost Page of Rods in reverse here. You're angsty. You're almost having a spiritual tantrum, right? Where you're so in opposition to what's going on around you that you're starting to have some anxiety around this, actually. Like it's welling up inside you, sort of like a tantrum, and that's not to say that that's the highest level of frustration that we can experience as adults, is when we're so dissatisfied with what's happening around us, and we can't for the life of us figure out why this could be happening. Sometimes the why isn't for us to answer. That will come later. When you look back, you'll be able to understand why these things had to happen to get you onto this path of this new life. Something might not be for you here, Gemini. It might be the end of a chapter, and the separation of it is just heartbreaking right now. But this is all happening to clear your path for a new beginning. And it's interesting. I feel like you're rejecting that new beginning. Wheel of Fortune in reverse. There's the Three of Cups. The second row is sort of your, what's going on as we get more and more closer to the within part, the inner self. And the inner self here is rejecting these changes, but at the same time, it's almost sort of a time where you're being guided to celebrate the shift, to celebrate the change in status quo, and to go with the flow, and to find solace and support with others, and to not lie to yourself. It's interesting. The Seven of Swords seems to always show up when all the glitters card shows up as well. It's this idea of not trusting that everything is as it appears. So if it appears as a loss, it might not be a loss. It may be just a shift to get you to a new place. It might be a redirection instead of a rejection. It's not always as it appears. It's not always as our ego tells us it is. It's not always as the inner child interprets it, which is why I think that Page of Rods is coming out. This is not always the way we think. You know what I mean? And I feel like you're on the path of something very new. And we see the Queen of Pentacles here. So you're needing to focus on sort of how you're feeling. How are you nourishing yourself? Are you getting distance from any limiting beliefs? Are you willing to get distance from those limiting beliefs, and then to refocus your energy and be determined in the present moment? I can't help but think that there may be some of you may be really focused on putting the cart ahead of the horse here, where you're like, well, if this all changes, then this is going to be what my future looks like. It's going to be this, and this. And it's almost like this forecast that you're making based on what you see today. But like we were just saying, not everything is as it appears. And it may be that you're imagining things as being very, unfortunate and as a setback, because you're unable to just go with the flow here. And it feels like a loss. It feels like a setback. It feels like these changes that are happening are unfortunate changes. And I feel like that is not as it appears. I feel like this is all leading to a brand new chapter that actually could be a turning point for you, Gemini. I feel like there could even be conflict around you with this Five of Wands, and we see the Ten of Swords as well. It's very interesting. It feels like you're needing to step into some Queen of Pentacles energy to really embody that sort of strength from within. That strength that comes from within, from being grounded, from really feeling connected to what's happening in your present circumstance. And we see that with the Knight of Pentacles as well, really being determined and diligent and sort of expanding on what is happening here by sort of feeling safe and going with the flow and trusting the process. That is a key phrase here for you this week, Gemini, to trust the process and don't despair. Don't despair. Trust the process and lean into it and trust that all will be well. Yeah, tricky. There's the Knight of Pentacles again. So really, that is the message for you this week. I just want to clarify some of these other cards. We've got that Eight of Swords. What just flew on the floor? That Eight of Swords definitely tells me that you're overthinking here. We see the Two of Cups is what fell on the floor. And it's interesting it fell on the floor. This might be something that you've dismissed entirely, that this new timeline could lead to something, in the way of a union or in the way of a harmonious new beginning with a partner. This is interesting. You might need to shake things up a bit here, and you might have not shaken it up. So, it's an inevitable change that has to happen. Things can't stay the same forever. And there's the Nine of Swords. I feel like you're very worried. You're really not trusting the process, and that makes the suffering worse. When we come to a place of acceptance, the suffering has no place anymore. There's no power there, when we resist change because we're so attached to what the present looks like right now and we don't want it to change, that can create an immense amount of suffering. And I feel like that's where you're sitting right now. You're sitting in the midst of conflict with yourself, with people around you. There's a lot of pressure, and that pressure is about to break, and it's going to bring in a lot of change. So it's almost the time for you to ground yourself, be grounded in your body, and lean in and trust this is all going to move towards a new beginning for you. Maybe even a beginning in a relationship. Let's see. Your final message is be peace. Yeah. This is what you need to embody this week, Gemini. You need to trust the process and become the peace that you seek. You must embody that peaceful energy, because these overthinking, staying up all night, worrying about the worst case scenario, feeling like everything is a setback is not serving you this week. This is a week to be at peace. Find that inner peace this week, Gemini. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope this has been helpful for you. Please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting. And as always, I will see you again for another reading very soon. Sending you so much love and light, my friends. Take care.